Designing with Figma. All right, so here we go. After you open a new file, you see this Canva kind of view, which is gray when you don't have any designs opened. And this white box you see in the center of your screen is called frame. It is like a place where you basically design everything. And then you export frames or you pass frames to developers. You can place frames inside of frames, so it is kind of complex setting that is used by Figma, and it's kind of different, I think, compared to other software like Sketch or InVision probably. Yeah, but you can create frames inside of frames. There is, on the right side, you can see a description. It is used for, sorry, we created it for people who can't understand me or want to come back to it later, because I think we'll export this presentation to you and upload it on Slack. So if you need to come back to something, you'll have that ability. And I think it's pretty, the descriptions are pretty good and very explanatory. All right, so moving next, we have grid and layout columns. So when you create your designs, you want your designs to be consistent, and that's like very important law across the design environment, that you want everything to be consistent. So usually at Outliant we use 12 column bootstrap grid, which is very easy to use by developers, I guess. And also it's easy for us to design on this bootstrap grid because it's already it's been already checked by other companies, and it's widely used in environments. So if you're gonna create web design, go for grid and layout. You can create those in Figma. On the right side there is this settings panel where you can add layout grids or columns, rows, whatever fits you, and this way everything will align nicely to those columns. Next, layers and groups. This is about how you organize your work, basically, when you are working with some designs or user interfaces or whatever. Because when you have your file opened on the left side, you will see this menu with different kind of things. It could be texts or groups or frames inside of frame. As you can see, main frame is displayed with black text, and items nested inside this frame are a bit further on the right side. This way you see they are nested inside of kind of master frame. Layers, so everything you create is a new layer. Group layers, and here I want you to remember only one thing from this presentation, if you don't listen to me or something. Remember.
We are, man.
Yeah, remember to avoid groups. Like, this is very important, and even designers sometimes forget about it. Avoid groups. It is basically useless. It's like if you imagine if you buy Ford Mustang, and you drive Echo because you don't know where the sport mode is located in your car. It's the same situation. Groups are useless in Figma. Instead, you want to use frames, because frames have very great functionality, which are, for example, constraints, where you can set elements to be scaling, you can create responsive design, all that kind of things. So yeah, I would suggest to avoid groups whenever possible. The only situation where we accept that kind of setup is when you're wireframing and you need your time to be saved and not wasted to create organize the designs. So yeah, please remember, avoid groups in Figma. Pages, inside of your project, you can have a different pages for different stuff. So for example, you can use pages for different functionality of your design, or you can use pages for timestamping your designs. So many possibilities out there. And nested frames, yeah, we already discussed that. You can have frames inside of frames. Yeah, do not use groups. Next, vector shapes. It is pretty cool. You can create vector illustrations in Figma. You don't need to use Illustrator. Of course, Illustrator from Adobe is much larger software, and you have much more functionality in Adobe. But for the basic stuff, Figma is enough. Like, you can do really amazing illustrations. If you follow Figma on Twitter, you could see what illustrations people can create with Figma. It's really up to your imagination what you can create here, of course, with limitation of the software, but I think it's for the purpose of user interface design or web design, it's enough. You create vector shapes with tool pen, pen tool. It's a P shortcut on your keyboard, and you basically create lines, and then you adjust angles, and you have your beautiful illustrations. Images. You can import images to Figma. You have a different modes for images. They could be set as fill, or fit, or crop, or tile. It is adjusted to what you need. And to have access to this functionality, you simply click on the image inside of fill section, and then you can select different types of menu items here. All right, typography. Now, I would say 40% of the design to look good is typography, because when you select bad fonts or you adjust bad settings on your typography, it will look bad. The nice thing about Figma, and I would say it's one of the best features of Figma, is that there is a full library of Google fonts in Figma software. So if you don't have a cool font that is probably used by 60% of the websites you walk through your daily usage of internet, they use a Google font. And to kind of see what kind of fonts, you can Google phrase Google fonts, then open up the library. And if you are not sure what type of font you want to use on your project, you can simply click on whatever font you think looks nice, and then Google have suggestions on pairing a typography for your project. That is pretty cool, in my opinion. And if you feel like you have better fonts on your computer, you need to download Figma app, because I think I didn't say that you can use Figma as a web application, and you don't need to download it on your computer. But if you want to use custom fonts that are located on your computer, you need to download the app and then install Font Helper. That's available on the Figma website, and this will allow you to use your custom fonts. On the right side, right above the fill that was discussed on the image one slide ago, you can select font type, font weight, line height, font size, letter spacing, text box behavior. Now, this is tricky. Personally, I don't use it at all, text box, because it will make your design not consistent. Having this center element selected will allow you to keep your line height, letter spacing, all that kind of stuff set. Text box is more for this kind of artistic design where you don't really need attention of details, and you can work around text on a different behavior. Yeah, but yeah, Javen, that's right. Download the app, don't use the web application. It's better to have the app on your computer. It works better, and you probably will have a better outcome of using it on your desktop. All right, moving next.